Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie, and today we are going to be looking at Goodnight Polish's upcoming collection called Mythical Menagerie. This is a little 5-piece lineup in some mixed finish formulas. We do have 2 magnetics and 1 solar polish in this overall fall tone kind of lineup. So without further ado, let me just show you the swatches. The first polish in the lineup is Ashes of the Phoenix, which is described as a dark gray crelly with a strong orange to red shifting shimmer. To be nitpicky, I would just say that it's a red to orange shimmer because you primarily see red head on and then orange and gold at extreme lights, but either way, this had a really great formula, a little bit on the crelly side as it's described, so there is a touch of sheerness, but overall really decently pigmented on the first coat and basically opaque in just 2, and I really loved how moody this was between the dark gray base and that fiery shimmer. Next we have Hydra Scales, which is described as a dark green base with a bright green magnetic shimmer. This one had another really nice formula, super smooth, really pigmented on the first coat, though I didn't grab enough polish on the first coat, so you can see I sort of had a little bit of a bald spot on the right side, but it did self-level pretty well, and because this is a slightly darker leaning shade, I found it pretty much opaque in just the 2 coats, though I think if you do thinner coats, you might need a third. It just depends on your preference and also your nail length. I don't know if I would call this one chartreuse necessarily, but there is a lot of a yellow leaning green to this color, mainly from the lighter magnetic shimmer, but in more extreme light you can see it has this subtle shift to this like aqua blue shade, so it is really cool in that way. I don't know if a Hydra is technically a reptile, but when I first saw this I was like, okay, it's giving reptilian. And here I have it unmagnetized on the left and with the velvet effect on the right and the glass bead as well, which I feel like looks so glassy and dimensional. The other magnetic in the collection is called Harpy Storm, which is described as a dark teal base with a bright blue to purple shifting magnetic shimmer. This one was so alluring. As you can see, also super highly pigmented on the first coat. I would say even more so than the last shade. Not only is it a darker color, but in general it's just like one of those really richly pigmented and saturated jelly kind of bases. So there is like a touch of squishiness, but it's so hard to see any nail line, at least for me, because again it was just so dark, and I feel like I'm not doing the shade justice on camera because it looks almost too dark where you don't see and appreciate that deep teal color, but it's just so mesmerizing. And I love the contrast against the magnetic shimmer as well. It just really gives those super enchanting vibes. And I feel like this is almost a fine particle magnetic too. It's just very finely milled and looked super glassy and again really dimensional in the velvet and glass bead styles. Then we have Dance of the Selkie, which is described as a blue to purple solar polish filled with iridescent flakes. As you can see, this is another jelly leaning base, so it is going to be a bit sheer on the first coat where you are going to see some nail line, kind of giving this glassy effect that just lets those flakies really shine and swim in the base. I would say this had a really easy to work with formula, really self-leveling, which was nice. There's a decent amount of flakes in here as well, as you can see from the first coat alone, where sometimes if a polish has too many flakies, it can just make it really difficult or just finicky to work with, and you have to do more dabbing and manipulation, so it was nice to just apply this like a normal polish. This built up beautifully in 2 coats to this sky blue color, but under UV light it transforms into this super vibrant violet shade. And rounding out the collection is Maticore's Venom, which is described as a black linear holo. And this had another phenomenal formula, maybe arguably the best one, which shouldn't be too surprising since it is a black-based polish. But it was just so incredibly full coverage on the first coat. I think I just had a little bit of a light spot on the left side of my nail, and that's easily covered up with just the 2 coats. I can't imagine anybody needing a 3rd coat for this one or having to use a black base, for example. And yeah, it's a simple finish with a linear holo, but still so sparkly. And here is my thumb swatch collage of the collection. I love that it's just giving those moody, mythical fall vibes. Now, getting into comparisons, we're starting with Ashes of the Phoenix, and looking at it next to a couple of Holo Taco shades, I figured I could show it next to Maple Sugar Glaze from the recent collection. Even though that one's more of a warm brown base with a gold shimmer, I thought I'm Rover it would be a little closer, but it's just a little too light, at least in the base color. And in a similar vein, I'm quickly showing this next to Mooncat's Whiskey Sunrise, which has a really gorgeous fiery shimmer, but the base itself is too light, so it just doesn't compare. Some other closer Mooncats I thought would be more similar included the Arsonist, but that one's just much more red overall, so I think Bottled Rage would be even closer, having a blackened base with a red shimmer. So hopefully here you can see that the Goodnight polish is more of that charcoal gray base, and the red shimmer is a lot more glowy in that one too. It's just so subtle in Bottled Rage. And then I decided to swap it out with Mooncat's Like a Moth to a Flame, which has a similar fiery shimmer but in a deep charcoal base, but that one looks even more gray. For Hydra Scales, I was first reminded of a couple of Apocalypse shades like Radioactive from the Fallout collection or Deep Space Fishing from the most recent The Last Hail Mary collection. That one is also a magnetic, but for now I'm showing it unmagnetized so you can see how it looks next to Radioactive, which kind of has this sort of micro glitter finish. And I think the color is a little closer to that one, but it's not as yellowy green as Hydra Scales. So for yellowy green magnetics, I pulled out ILNP's Frankie and Mooncat's Mutiny. Between these two, I would say that Frankie is a bit closer, leaning into that deep chartreuse kind of color, especially where the magnetic shimmer in both of those leans very gold or lime green, while in Mutiny, it's just a little bit of a medium shade of green. And once you magnetize them, you can also see a difference here where I think Frankie is still a little bit closer. It's maybe just less yellow in the base, and it also has this hollow flake in the background, but it's a lot closer than Mutiny, which almost has this teal green shade. It honestly looked more teal than I remembered, and thought I grabbed Drown My Demons, but this was definitely Mutiny. And from Holo Taco, I have Herb Your Enthusiasm from the recent Spice Rack collection, and Peridon't Bother Me from the Birthstones collection, which I feel like is a little bit closer. Herb Your Enthusiasm is even more of like a true chartreuse shade and also very metallic looking, but the finish does kind of look similar to Hydra Scales if you leave it unmagnetized. And I guess technically Peridon't Bother Me is also pretty chartreuse in comparison, having a much more gold shimmer. And lastly, for another green magnetic, I remembered that I still have Cirque's Cannabliss from a previous 420 release. I think this was also technically described as a chartreuse sort of green, and it is a little bit more yellow and also maybe lighter compared to the Goodnight polish in both the shimmer and the base. The base is easier to tell once you do magnetize it, and it also reveals this additional kind of shimmer particle in the background of Cirque. Next for Harpy Storm, this is where I had Drown My Demons, which is a much more teal blue kind of magnetic, and I also pulled out ILNP's Enchantment, which is just another similar finish, but that one does have a hollow sparkle. So between these two, Drown My Demons is technically closer, just being a pure magnetic in a jelly base, but I would say the base in that one is even more blue, while Harpy Storm is like a deeper teal, and the shimmer is slightly different, where to me it looks more green head-on in Mooncat and ILNP, while it's a little more aqua blue in Goodnight polish. Another magnetic I thought was going to be similar was Bee's Knees Lacquer, Rebirth, and Renew, but that one is a much more blue leaning jelly base with the blue and green and purple sort of magnetic shimmer, so not quite the same. Then for Dance of the Selkie, I knew I had to see this next to Icebreaker, which was their anti-ice charity polish from earlier this year, and I figured I could also show it next to Mooncat's Don't Cry Bubbles, which is just another blue jelly base with iridescent flakes. In the bottle, the two Goodnight polishes do look really similar, but I would say there is a difference on the nail. It's just subtle in the shade of blue and the flakes. Not to mention that Selkie is a solar, so then I figured I could swap it out with Fauve's Harmony from their recent color field collection, but that one is more of a lighter aqua blue, and the solar transition is more of a warm toned purple, while the Goodnight polish is more indigo. And I wanted to see how Cirque's aqua jelly compared, but that was just too light. And for the Solar State, it immediately reminded me of Apocalypse's Pride polish called This Is You, No More Hiding, because it has a very deep purple jelly base with iridescent flakes. But since Selkie also leaned somewhat blue, I thought I could also show it next to Cirque's Midnight Ink, topped with Mooncat's Sugar and Spice, but that was too blue, and Cirque's Royal Jelly was just too much of a warm purple. And lastly, for Manticore's Venom, I figured I could show it next to Holo Taco's Cast Iron, even though that's not a linear holographic at all. I think I saw this was actually described as a frosted metal, which I don't really see, but maybe it's like that new frosted metal finish similar to Silent Library, where it just looks like a microflake finish, but either way, it just doesn't compare. The closest that I have to this is Cirque's Alter Ego, which is another black linear holo, and surprise, surprise, it looks pretty similar. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons of Goodnight Polish's Mythical Menagerie collection. This lineup is going to be launching this Friday, August 28th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And in very exciting news, I am now an affiliate with Goodnight Polish. So I will have my link in the description box, which will save you 10% off your order. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think of this lineup and the theme. I've really been enjoying Goodnight Polish's themes and branding for their collections, and this one is no exception, and I feel like it just works so well now that we're like heading into fall, which I'm still not fully ready for, but I do always love a nice deep vampy kind of polish and shimmer. I'm torn on what my favorites are from this lineup, because I really do like Harpy Storm and also Dance of the Selkie, which I feel like doesn't feel as fall coated to me. If anything, it's more of like a great transitional shade going from summer to fall, but I especially love it in the UV state and that like dark vampy purple. It just is such a beautiful contrast to the flakes, but overall the polishes are just really gorgeous. So yeah, again, let me know what you think and if you plan on picking any of these up. And again, a big thank you to anybody who does use my affiliate link or code to support me in the channel. It means so much. But even if you don't plan on buying anything, I would still love to know your thoughts down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!